Hello and good evening. So, as I've already mentioned, one of the rivets is actually missing on this chest. Now, I'm not too worried about that. I'm not going to look at replacing it due to the fact that the chest is in really, really good condition. But sadly, here is a very visible mark because I tried to clean it with soap and water and it rubbed off some of the print. Now, I could either leave it as it is and then varnish over the top, which I will talk about more in greater detail when I get to that, or I could do something else. So, what I was thinking of doing with this chest, whether I do it internally or externally, or on pieces which can be easily removed or swapped out or changed, was using some transferable temporary tattoos. Now, I have used tattoo transfers in the past when doing arts and craft projects because they are really, really easy to use and they are very durable, providing obviously you keep them out of direct sunlight, and they will obviously get subjected to general wear and tear. And one of the things I did to see how effective they were is I did start putting some of them on one of my mannequins. And she has been moved from pillar to post so many times. And all of her tattoos, although some of them have started to scratch off the plastic coating off the mannequin herself, they are still very visible. And some of them are really, really nice, but they are temporary tattoos. I have chosen not to get inked, unlike the rest of my family. But it doesn't mean that I don't love tattoos and that I don't love the history behind them and the story they tell. So when people would have gone traveling on these really, really long journeys to places like the Middle East or Silk Roads or go to Egypt, one of the things they obviously would have been aware of or familiar with would have been tattooing. And tattooing is a very ancient thing. It's been around since the time of people. And one of the things that, whether she had it done to herself or not, I don't know, is there are rumors that Cleopatra is actually tattooed. She was tattooed on her legs, which is one of the reasons why she never allowed anyone to see them, because they were a symbol of her religion, of her faith, of her womanhood, and it was something very private and very personal to her. When I watched the movie Queen of the Desert, which is about Gertrude Aloysian Bell, who was very, very important to the British Empire, to the Ottoman Empire when it still existed, before, during, and after the First World War. She was very much in affiliation with people like Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great. Lawrence of Arabia, I'm so sorry, not Alexander the Great. He's Greek. He is a completely different person altogether. But T.E. Lawrence, so Lawrence of Arabia, again, born in the United Kingdom, went to support the Arab nations, and one of the people that he met on his travels was Gertrude Aloysian Bell. And in the movie, she is played by Nicole Kidman, and whilst she is waiting to see one of the families on her tour along the deserts to talk to each of all the individual tribes that are there, she stays with one of the family of one of the tribal leaders that she wants to meet, and she has her hands henna tattooed on the backs. So it would have been patterns similar to this, with symbols, with meanings, that in the movie, Gertrude Aloysian Bell had her hands henna tattooed. Another movie where that happens is in The Kingdom of Heaven. Again, it's set in the Middle East. It's set at a time when there was the king who had who had leprosy, and his sister, who was played by Eva Green. Again, there is a scene in that movie where she has the back of her hands henna tattooed. And it's quite a very personal thing. It's very spiritual. It's the sort of thing that women will have done as a sign to say, that they are fertile, or that they're going to be getting married, or at certain times of the year to celebrate certain customs or traditions. I don't know a lot about it, but there's so much information out there. So if you're interested in henna tattooing or the meaning of tattoos, please feel free to do your own research. So another thing I actually learned recently is that some tattoos that people had were a symbol of them when they'd gone on a pilgrimage. So if they did go to Bethlehem, or they went on a pilgrimage somewhere, that they would have a tattoo to symbolize that they had done this pilgrimage. And so again, it was for a religious reason. So there's a lot of history, there's a lot of culture behind tattooing. So what I'm looking at doing is potentially incorporating one of these, or maybe even more than one of these, into my suitcase. Because, like I said, when people would have gone abroad, they would have personalised their travel cases so that they knew it was theirs. They would personalize them with their names. They would customize them to carry their items that they needed for their long journey, and also items that they bring back. So if you'd have gone to Egypt, or if you had gone to China, or you would happen to go somewhere, you would bring back spices or silks, tourist memorabilia. And when my dad was in the Merchant Navy, he had a suitcase, and I have seen it, and as far as I know, it's still at my mum's house, and it had stickers of every single place he had visited in the 3 years he was in the Merchant Navy. So this suitcase is absolutely covered in stickers from each country that he visited. So it's not unusual to have those sorts of things. But because obviously, I want to give it that little bit of a feminine touch, a bit of a personal touch, and I love things like this. I just think they're absolutely gorgeous. I'm looking at incorporating them into upcycling of my travel case. Wouldn't be my video without a yawn. So the one I'm thinking of using is this one here. And all I want really is to just sort of put it on the case itself, just to hide the space underneath. So I will continue with another video about doing this.